Good morning, dear ones. It is Monday, the 30th of November. Tomorrow we're into December. And the holiday season is here. And I don't know, I just feel excited like a little girl, just like I do every year Christmas time. I mean, COVID notwithstanding, my kids can't come home because of the COVID. But I just feel so excited. It's silly. I'm almost kind of giddy excited. As I told our dear patron Marge after she left a comment after yesterday's blog post and said she was putting her wreath up and doing some other things, and I'm going to put my wreath up on my front door today. I got it a few years ago. It lights up. That just thrills me. Anything about the twinkly lights just thrills my little heart. And Rachel will help me get my blue lights all over my front porch, which is my kind of traditional thing to do, and which I just love. Blue Christmas lights are like my very favorite. And I don't know, it's just feeling good. Tomorrow we start our 4th month on Patreon. And I am beyond thrilled, and I just have to thank you all so much for your support. It's changed my life. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to be reading Everyday Sacred to you by Sue Bender. You all know that, but today, Monday, is the day that I share a morning coffee video, our morning coffee video today, publicly. So for those who have not been in a morning coffee video before and are seeing it for the first time, I have been reading in the morning coffee videos in an attempt to not only share one of my all-time favorite books that I have read many times and return to when I need comfort, when I need to get my head on straight again. It's just so full, so full. It's simple little chapters that feel and look simple at first glance, but go very deep. And I will share with you that I have decided, because not only is the holiday season any year kind of hectic and chaotic and too busy, and now with COVID this year, things are harder for everyone, I have decided, since everyone has been enjoying Sue Bender, that I am going to read Sue Bender's first book, Plain and Simple, in December. It's not a very long book. I think it will be very soothing for us to keep bringing ourselves back in this time of too much of everything and high emotions for many reasons, and feeling scared, to bring ourselves back to the plain and simple things in our lives. Of course, that book is about the time that she lived with the Amish for a time and what she learned. So that will be the next book I will be reading to you. And yes, I didn't know that morning coffees would be a reading time. And I like to, for those of you who are seeing this video publicly and are not patrons, I do these morning coffees 5 mornings a week. And I read a little and then I comment a little about what I read, some thoughts for the day. So I hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, and I will warn you, I may go a few minutes over because this section is so full of so much that's so good. I just wanted to keep reading. I was looking through the pages this morning. All right, my dear ones. So we return to Sue Bender's Everyday Sacred. Get my light over here. Martin. When I told Martin, who makes cappuccinos at Cafe Milano, that I was writing a book and had included him, he was surprised and pleased. I asked if he would talk to me about his work. During his 10 o'clock break, he came upstairs to my table and we talked. Martin started as a busboy in 1983. Angel, who was the cappuccino maker at the time, taught him how to make coffee. I learned a lot from Angel, he said with respect. When Angel left to go to another coffee house, he left Martin in charge. How did the tradition of making smiling faces in the foam get started? I asked. Angel started doing it first. Angel used a little stick or a paper clip, and then one day he thought about using a spoon, and everything opened up. It's much easier to make clear, strong images with a spoon. I think people love to see your smiling face in the foam, I told him. Sometimes, even when it's very busy, I take a little extra time to make the face. It's beautiful for people. If I see them happy, I feel happy. I asked him why cappuccino tastes so different when it's made by different people using the same machine and same coffee. Martin smiled. Everything has to be perfect. And some coffee, Martin smiled. I'm so sorry. Everything has to be perfect. There's this extra touch. You have to pack the coffee in a little tighter. There's a little more strain. Some coffee makers don't want to bother. It's really important to press the coffee just right. I always put a little more effort into it. Sometimes I don't make the coffee right. It's hard to make foam with low-fat milk. Can you feel how much your customers like you? The customers are very important to me. Work is very important for me, he continues. I think people appreciate what I've done. A little more trouble and extra work is good. When I'm in a bad mood, I hide it. He mentioned the word humble. I asked what it means for him. I don't want to take advantage. I don't want money. I want something, and then he paused. Something inside, more than money or material things. Martin grew up on a farm in Guanajuato, Mexico, with his grandfather. His grandfather was serious, quiet, extremely honest. Maybe I inherited some of that. He's guiding me, the way I behave. Poor, but happy. Proud. Alush, David, when he's washing his truck and doing his gardening. Gail, drawing her pot. Martin, making cappuccino. Each models a way of being present. They aren't looking for shortcuts. They bring all of themselves to what they do. Everything stops, and the moment is deeply satisfying. When I'm drawing, I don't want to be anywhere else but right there, doing that drawing, Gail said. Cafe Milano regulars. I used to think I was the only Cafe Milano regular, but when I began to really notice, I saw that there were several others at the early morning shift. Kathleen and Alan, a well-groomed couple in their 40s, sit downstairs. They stand out, dressed for the business world in downtown San Francisco. It's obvious that they are a couple, but they don't talk to each other, each intent on the newspaper. What made you decide to come here? I asked. Martin. The coffee, the ambiance, the newspaper, and the silence, Kathleen volunteered. Friends laugh at our preoccupation with our coffee, she continued, but this half-hour ritual is terribly real and important. I'm take a little sip of my coffee. I've got kind of a tickle in my throat. Foam lip, sorry. An imperfect, perfect place. Today at Cafe Milano, they're playing rap music, and it's particularly loud, not at all the kind of music I like. And they've just painted the bathroom a bilious green with a darker blue-green railing. The effect is jarring. Is this management's latest attempt to ward off the attacks of graffiti? In spite of all of this, it's my home away from home, and when I sit down surrounded by my piles of paper and look at the smiling face in the foam of my cappuccino, I am able to focus, perfectly happy in this imperfect place. The next section of the book is called Art as Teacher. Learning to see. For as long as I can remember, I've wanted to draw. What I mean is that I'd like to be able to make something look real. I have taken a lot of beginning drawing classes, and I've had some wonderful teachers. However, by the end of each class, almost every student can follow the instructions and draw realistically, and I am left frustrated. It's not that I'm devoid of artistic talent, but when I try to draw what I actually see in front of me, the work turns out cockeyed and lopsided. Sue, we've had this same conversation for years, says Joe, my drawing teacher. You tell me you can't draw, and I tell you that you draw fine. The particular way you see is your way. That's me with Maisie. Trust it. His sincere assurance does me no good. I'm not satisfied. I believe there is some other way to draw that is better than my way. I do want to learn to draw realistically. I want to have a choice, and I'm willing to keep trying. In December, I decided to give myself a Christmas present, a mental health break from writing. Each day that month, I would go in the studio and practice drawing a pear. One pear. I also wanted to experiment with color. My goal for the end of the month was to draw a pear that looked fat and delicious. My theory was that if I limited my focus, stared at that one pear, I would eventually be able to see. I thought the key to seeing was to find the shadows, notice where the light and dark fell on the surface of the pear. And if I could do that, a fat, rounded pear would emerge. That didn't happen. I was having so much trouble seeing the actual shape of the pear that my husband took pity on me and drew an outline of a generic pear that I could trace. At the end of the month, I had 47 beautiful, richly colored pears painted in acrylic, a few nice enough because of the luscious color to give as Christmas presents, but all flat except one, which I gave to my husband. I had failed at my stated purpose, mastery of shape and shadow, but instead of frustration and a sense of wasted time, the month of struggle delivered many satisfactions. Waking up each day knowing I was going to draw a pear changed the quality of my day. Total devotion to one task, even for a brief period of time, to stop the world. Even for a brief time, to stop the world was enormously satisfying. I was carried along by clear intention and genuine effort. Drawing the pear was a lot of effort, and I saw a value in that effort. When I wasn't laughing at myself for sitting in a dark room staring at a now rotting pear, I saw that perseverance and determination were strengths to be appreciated, whatever the outcome. If I could practice unattached intending, not worrying about the result, staying focused exactly on what I was seeing, would a rounded pear appear? When Richard first drew the outline of a pear for me, I had felt that was cheating. The pear wasn't really mine. But somewhere in the course of that month, I accepted the fact that I wasn't able to learn everything at once. Breaking an overwhelming task down into manageable steps was an immense help. It's true I had failed at my larger ambition, to have the pear appear fat, but it no longer felt like a failure. I was learning small things, and hopefully, with patience, I'd learn some more. I thought again of Gail's 100 luscious round pots and asked her to come to the studio. I described my battle to draw a pear. She listened. She then suggested I further limit my task. In order to see the shadows, I was to find a real pear whose shape I liked and paint the pear itself with white acrylic. Then I was to turn off the lights, all except one to highlight the pear, and using a soft B-lead pencil and paper strong enough to tolerate lots of erasing, try to see and draw the shadows. The next week my professor returned and said I was still seeing too much, trying to get every nuance in, and as a result giving everything equal importance. Still drowning in possibility, she said. Squint, she said the next week, after seeing how I was progressing. See if you can focus on the larger masses. Linger was her next lesson. Take your time. Keep going over the lines. Move in the direction of the pear. Feel the strokes as you're making them. As the weeks went by, she continued her instructions. All through your experience of drawing the pear, you talk about the discomfort and struggle. Not once do you mention the experience of loving to draw, loving the feeling of a pencil gliding on the paper, the sensual pleasure of it all. Yes, there is struggle, tedium in the process, she continued, but there is also joy and excitement in small discoveries along the way. Staying detached from the result is easy when your process is as fat and delicious as the pear itself. Her words made me sad. I'm familiar with struggle. Lingering means intimacy. Gail continued, it's having a relationship with each piece. You can't be parked in a red zone with your mind on the possibility of getting a parking ticket at the same time you are drawing. It means losing a sense of time. It means starting a drawing at 9 a.m. and being so deeply engaged in it that you look up at your clock and see it's 2:30. Where did the time go? How come I'm not hungry? How come I didn't answer the phone? Most of us don't have the luxury of large chunks of time to do exactly what we want to do. The challenge is to find even 10 minutes what we want to do. I don't know know where my mind went. Most of us don't have the luxury of large chunks of time to do exactly what we want to do. The challenge is to find even 10 minutes when the world stops. And for that moment, there is nothing else. How can we bring that quality to what time we have, making that limited time sacred? Slowly, over time, sitting in my darkened studio, I began to see distinctions. After hundreds of minuscule adjustments, something resembling a pear did emerge. Someone looking at these pears might have thought, "Why all the fuss? My grandmother could do as well, if not better." That's not the point. These ever-changing, imperfect pears are teaching me to appreciate the struggle, the willingness not to give up, to laugh at myself for the seriousness and determination with which I approach everything. Draw your pear, Sue, and work from your heart, Gail said. The power of distance and time. The following Saturday, I had a few unclaimed hours and decided to give myself an extra treat and work in the studio, copying a fresh and delicious-looking pear made by the artist Robert Kulicki. This was Kulicki's pear, not mine. I could relax. My job was to stare at the picture in front of me. For 3 hours, nothing else mattered. I loved what I was doing. But even though his drawing was right in front of me, my pear was lopsided and looked like it wasn't resting on the table, and I soon became frustrated. The next morning, I went into the studio to make sure I'd cleaned everything up, and was amazed to see my 4 Kulicki pears looking alive with their own spirit of ripe deliciousness. I hadn't added anything except time and distance. Caught in the close-up struggle, I hadn't been able to step back and see what was there. Mine and not mine. It made no difference. Several times on Sunday, I went back to the studio to admire the pears. My wobbly bowl. Sitting in a coffee house with Richard, I drew my generic rendering of a bowl. The bottom was round, not flat. And she drew a little picture here. "Your bowl has no stability," Richard said. "It will move or even tip over the second you put something in it." He picked up his coffee cup and placed it in front of me on the table. "Your bowl doesn't have a solid base. A cup has a bottom that is flat." He was right. Because my bowl's bottom is round, every time I put something in the bowl, it changes. It's never the same. The bowl moves in relationship to everything else. A mystery solved. All these years, I had kept the experience of the white paintings close to my heart. I hadn't understood what they were trying to teach me, but when Richard said that about my wobbly bowl, a mystery that had eluded me for 3 years was suddenly clear. After seeing the white paintings, I had gone out and bought every single catalog of Ryman's shows and read every word. I even wrote him a letter and went to visit him in his studio in New York. "You don't have to know to feel it," Ryman had said. You don't have to figure it out. You understand. His work is not about anything. It's the act of painting itself that interests Ryman. The paint, the material of the canvas, the brush strokes, the fasteners that will hold the picture in place, how the picture is placed on the wall, the relationship of each picture to the other, the light, how the picture will change at different times of the day, all of it. Everything affects everything else. Everything counts. When Gail and I went to see a major retrospective of Ryman's work at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, Gail stood in front of one of my favorite paintings, one that is particularly white, and for 10 minutes I listened as she described all the nuance and color that was present in the white. Standing there, I again felt the immensity within ourselves that I had read about and hadn't understood. But at that moment, I was aware of something essential, some deep connection we all share. Everything counts. Everyone counts. That's the end of that section. And I wanted to finish that section, which has put me over several minutes, and I hope you'll forgive me today. But reading this section, and as I say this, I literally have chills. I have goosebumps all over. Made me realize that I could make a little leap. And for those of you who are watching this publicly that are not patrons, I'll explain that I do share Maisie's art with everyone and all the tiers. But the second tier is where I go deeper with the art and share things that I don't share, maybe because I'm kind of shy. And so today, in the second tier, I'm going to share something. It is a drawing that I've been working on while I wasn't painting here in my sketchbook. It's terrible. I mean, it's a mess. It's what I want to draw, but it's just not very good. And as I said yesterday, when I showed the newly completed painting, Take Time to Relax, in my 7x10 sketchbook that's mixed media paper, I went nuts because the spiral at the top, I mean, I work all the way up through the spirals because I'm used to doing a Maisie painting that's big and has room for lots of detail, and that paper is just too small. I don't have a scanner to scan something on the 11x15 paper. It'll have to be taken someplace, and with COVID, and I don't know how I'm going to get it scanned, but I'll figure it out. Eleanor took my first 30-something paintings and had them scanned for me. I'll pay her to do that if I have to, but I'm going back to my 11x15 paper. So today I'm going to share with the people in Tier 2, and any of you who tomorrow we're starting a new month, if you're interested and want to jump up to that tier, you're welcome to do that, no pressure. But this is going to be fun because I am really going to share the very scary process of doing a Maisie painting that I really want to do. And it is Maisie looking in the mirror at herself, inspired, but the image in the mirror is like, it doesn't even really fit in the mirror. It's almost more alive than Maisie is. It's what's looking back at her, what she sees. And it's inspired by a journal exercise that I always used to love and my students used to love. And it's, when I look in the mirror, I see ... So today I'll be sharing that on Tier 2. Anyway, I just had to say that because this chapter of Sue Bender's about art as teacher is what inspired me to go ahead with my wonky, lopsided, terrible drawing, but I love it and I'm going to do it anyway. All right, this is a half-hour morning coffee, and I'm so sorry, but I'm just was exploding with joy and happiness and delight about the holiday season and this chapter of Bender and doing this work. So thank you for bearing with me for 30 minutes. And to all of you who are seeing this publicly, there are 4 more morning coffees this week if you'd like to join on Patreon and hear more Sue Bender. I love you all. You mean the world to me. And as always, thank you for your love, your kindness, and your support. Have a great week, everyone.